Good afternoon, everyone. Seems the public's the last to get the message. Something's wrong with agriculture globally. China ramping up its national agricultural strategy. Corn revisions, largest in 30 years, downward trend in U.S. production. Idiocy in Illinois as they remove the sales tax exemption for farmers, reducing farm income by 54%. External factors in Nigeria as well. Unions preventing food and animals from moving through the country. Argentina says, oops, don't have the money to pay. Going to default on the IMF. All the downfalls of helicopter money, just like we're seeing in the U.S. And perhaps reductions in global agricultural output were already encoded in the 1 peso note. Declining solar activity. The Biden administration and Democrats in Congress are wasting no time in their efforts to reset the direction of America's future. The Wall Street Journal estimates that of the $1.7 trillion stimulus bill, only $825 billion was directly related to COVID, and it's estimated that 2021 will include another $3 trillion in stimulus money printing, bringing the total to $6.3 trillion in 2020 and 2021 alone. And that's why you'll instantly understand when Wells Fargo and Goldman Sachs both say it's the time to buy gold. It's time to heed that advice. Patriot Gold Group has the no-fee-for-life IRA, where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold and silver, and you may be eligible for the no-fee-for-life IRA. So go ahead and give the folks at Patriot Gold Group a call to discuss physical gold and silver. And the knowledge that Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold IRA dealer 5 years in a row from 2016 until present. Click the link in the description box below for more information. And now on with the video. So the next shakeup to enter 2021. If 2020 wasn't bad enough with the COVID, Suez canal blockage. Officially today, they're going to start unloading cargo containers off of that. It's going to take quite some time. If you thought your food prices had risen already, get ready for even higher inflation on that. China was ahead of the curve, setting out its new national agricultural strategy and this newest of the 5-year plan. Now, in earnest in March, they've really started to kick this off. And the panic button was pushed yesterday when they realized that 12% of their food imports have suddenly just ceased because of the closure of the Suez canal. Now, prior to this, they'd already established a series of huge, gigantic increases in food production, stopped all new building and construction in farmlands, and had planned to increase production by at least 13 million acres. So on the radar, at least in the Chinese government's short-term outlook, they saw imports already curtailing anyway. I mean, everybody knows this grand solar minimums in China, of all countries, would know best because they get reset with the emperors and the dynasties every 400 years. No different, they just have better technology this time. And to dovetail into that, the 2020 USDA final yield estimates outlier a little bit, to say the least. Dropping from almost 176 bushels per acre down to 172, that's a gargantuan drop. Even looking through the last 30 years, it's the largest revision absolute of magnitude ever. Almost a 4 bushel per acre drop. Then what's going to happen this year? We've seen some anomalous weather already. The derecho of last year crushing production. Graph format. If I was going to forecast into the future, that definitely looks like a downtrend for me from at least 2009, stepping down again in 2016, and then again last year. And the grand solar minimum intensifying even more these next few years. Magnetic anomalies, jet stream anomalies, temperature anomalies, and you can expect yields to continue to decrease across the globe. I firmly believe that's part of the Great Reset and why it's happening right now. And over to the lunacy in Illinois. Removing the sales tax exemptions for farmers is planned reduction in food. Absolutely, there's no other way to say it. So if you have a farm exemption, they also call it a farm card, when you buy something to run your operation, could be seeds, could be fertilizer, could be machines, could be poly sheeting for a greenhouse, could be starter trays, could be anything. You don't have to pay tax. So saving 6.5% in Illinois, in Tennessee, it's 9%. So that money stays in your pocket. So then you can buy 9% more of something or 6.5% more of something as you go through the year. Instead of trying to claim that on federal taxes at the end, you actually keep that in your pocket as working capital. But to take that away looks like it is a planned set of circumstances to bankrupt farmers. And I'm wondering who's going to be there to buy up their land. Because when you look at that reduction, it's not just the 6.5% at the sales point. It reduces the net farm income by 54%. So in the description box below, I linked to this article, and there's an enormous amount of spreadsheets in there really detailed on how each individual percent of sales tax affects the onward working capital of farmers for them to be able to deliver and get that food to market. Additionally, they're going to try to start municipality taxes on top of the state taxes with no exemption for farmers. This is it in earnest. They're trying to bankrupt the farms to make them go out of business in Illinois, and somebody's going to be there to buy it. Problem is, Illinois is one of the largest grain producers in the United States, so what's going to happen with your food prices if you're in North America, or if you're an importer of American corn? And something along the same vein here of intervention by government or some kind of entity that's reducing food supplies. Nigeria prevented from moving food and animals on the instructions of the unions operating there. So what was the result of that? Well, a shift. They shifted to Cameroon, Niger, and Chad. So you have to wonder with the Suez canal blockage if they'll be shifting as well regionally. So at this point, everybody's diving into their national reserves of either strategic grain reserves in China have just been opened, or the strategic oil reserves in the EU have been opened because they got all these tankers sitting idle that can't transit, which means declining global economy and economic activity, jumping over to Argentina. The downward spiral of the peso, black market rate double what the official rate is now. And the official statement out of Buenos Aires last week was, we don't have the money to pay back the IMF. Going to default yet again, unable to pay the $45 billion in debt. They simply say they just don't have the money to pay, and the structural reforms are unacceptable. They're not going to put the country and the citizens into dire straits. They're going to ask for more than just change from the banking system. Reading through the article, there's a lot of parallels with what's happening in the U.S. with this modern monetary theory and helicopter money. The Fed keeps printing. Argentina did the exact same thing, helicopter money here, there, and everywhere, and all it did was drive recession and inflation to the point it's not hyperinflation, but the official quote-unquote figures are inflation of 50%, but if you're looking in the real world, it's anywhere from double to triple, depending on what industry, what goods, in what region of the country. But you know, with the IMF and their structural reforms, they'll be more than happy to take the grain production out of the country. Now, what does that leave the citizens? Right back in the same pinch point again. Argentina understands what's happening here. They understood at the end of 2019 as well, when there were major protests demanding changes, the kicking out of the IMF and the World Banks and central banking needed to go. They were one of the 22 countries on the streets daily asking for the central banks to change and these international banking cartels to exit the country. Suddenly, there were no more street protests in 2020. You notice how that worked really in sync there? And when people are hungry, lockdown, no lockdown, they're on the streets again. And what's so prophetic about the peso here, the sun front and center, frowning on the back, declining solar activity, decreasing crop yields globally on a cycle of 400 years. Many governments know this cycle is here. They've been preparing for it, and perhaps this great reset is in conjunction. And it's just strange that everything was just okay to operate as the world operated all the way until the end of 2019, and then suddenly on a dime it needed to change. Why was that? Well, you're starting to see now decreasing crop yields, are pushing food prices to the point where the debt-based monetary system wouldn't function any longer anyway. So tear it down, start over with new rules, the same central banks in control with the new system. That's why there's a great reset. They don't care about you. They care about their power. It's right here on the money. The sun drives the amount of food production, the Enlightenment, the Dark Ages, through the centuries on this beautiful blue planet, which I talk more about on Homestead 2030 right there. Patreon/Adapt2030. Did an update yesterday about the Suez Canal, and I'm diving more into the amount of food transiting toward Asia and who's going to be most affected by that. And also how we all need to get more prepared for these changes. They're here now. You're going to have to get with your communities. You're going to have to start growing your food right now, comparing solutions with others. Hope you can join me over there. Patreon.com/Adapt2030. I do thank you for watching. Hope you got something out of the video, and I'll see you next time.